Hey guys, and welcome to the new channel. This channel is going to be all about RC type stuff, from boats to quadcopters to ground-based vehicles like this one that we're going to be unboxing today. 4x4 off-road, tons of fun. And the reason for this is because a lot of my RC videos are a little more few and far, whereas the Ford videos come out pretty often, like maybe one every other day usually, whereas these may come out once a month. So they're getting lost in the mix, and I decided to separate them, which many of you have requested, and I think this is going to work out quite well. And I figured the best way to start out this new channel is to unbox an awesome RC. This thing is absolutely awesome. It looks awesome. The features, the build quality looks awesome, and we're going to put it through its paces. It's going to be a multi-part series on here as far as breaking it in and tuning it and all that stuff, and its performance off-road once I can get to full throttle and it's fully broken in. So we're going to do an unboxing on this one today. This just came out. I think it was available to the public in June of 2014, I believe. So it's September now, and hopefully I have the latest model, because these were having issues with the connecting rods. The connecting rods were actually breaking on them, and the engines were seizing up. So hopefully that whole issue is gone, and I have a successful break-in on this thing. What I wanted was a gas or nitro truck, preferably gas. That's why I was looking at a Losi 5T, but they're so darn expensive, and then there's the cost of upgrading them and maintaining them, and personally I think they're underpowered from the factory, so I gotta buy a $500 engine just to make it up to snuff, I guess. And then they're so big and heavy and dangerous, you gotta make sure there's kill switches on them and all that stuff, so they don't run off and actually really seriously hurt someone or kill them. So this is a little bit safer. It's 8 scale, it's a monster truck, it's got nice big tires on it, plus suspension, and that's exactly what I wanted, but I didn't want nitro, and this thing solves that, and hopefully they got it right. This one is actually a gas vehicle, just like the Losi 5T, so it runs on a 2-cycle mix, and we're going to start unboxing it here. Let's see, it's this side, this side. We're going to check it out. So I'm very excited about this. I've been wanting a gas vehicle or nitro, well back in the day it was all nitro, since the early 90s. I'm talking, 89, 1990, that time frame, and there it is. And that's all I wanted back then, but I was so young, I was a kid back then, and I just never got it. So since, 1990, I guess you could say, I've been wanting a nitro gasser type vehicle where it's a real engine inside of there. And this thing, that's freaking huge already. So I think it's going to fit the bill. Hopefully it has plenty of power and it's reliable. Losi is known for reliability, for being really strong and all that stuff. I sure got it packed well. I'm going to get the tires jammed down there. And I also have my Traxxas Summit right here next to it, because I want to compare the tire sizes and all that stuff to it. I know it's not as big as the Summit, but I love the Summit. It climbs well, it's great, it's electric, crawls great, everything's fine. But I want a truck like this big that has a really plush suspension, lots of travel to it, see? And it also is fast. Now there's the E-Max I was going for. I wanted something electric, but there's too many differential problems and bulkhead problems and everything else. I just want a vehicle that's built strong. Now this is definitely built strong. We're going to start pulling the cover off here, and you'll be able to see the whole suspension, how well it's built. And the shocks on here are absolutely freaking huge. I've never seen shocks in my life on an RC that are this big. Nice thick body. I think it's got a pretty cool paint scheme on it. And wow. This is totally different than what I'm used to. I'll bring it in for a closer look on it, but I'll point out a few things on here. Let's take it off the receiver box down below here. And I'll go through each one of these boxes and let you know what comes with it. So let's put the body back on real quick. And we're going to do a size comparison, tires and all, to the Traxxas Summit. So I know some of you may be wanting something fast that's the size of a Summit. Okay. So yeah, that's what I figured. It basically has, hopefully you can see all this. Of course the body's higher on the Summit. It's definitely higher ground clearance to the chassis and all that stuff. And the body is definitely up higher on the post. So the body is definitely going to be higher, obviously. This is more of a race truck, a little bit lower. But the size of the tires are the same size tires. It's got a flat spot in it. Yeah, it's the same size tires on here. And it's got about the same wheelbase, too. It's pretty darn close. This one has a little bit longer wheelbase on it. So, it's hopefully what I want. Nice plush suspension. Can really soak up the bumps and do some off-roading. Had that ground clearance to really fly. So I want to do a comparison, and there it is. They're pretty darn close in size, and that's what I wanted. So hopefully this thing is tons of fun, tears it up, and is plummy fast also. Put it right here. We'll take the body back off. And I'll try to show you some stuff on here. The engine is a lot bigger than I imagine it to be. I've seen nitro engines before, and it's mainly the cooling head here and all that stuff, but the rest of it looks about the regular size of a nitro engine. Now, I know this engine is a lot smaller than the one in the HPI Octane, but it also, the weight of this vehicle is a lot less than the Octane, so it's kind of matched properly, I believe, for the weight of the vehicle. Now, what I love is these freaking tires, but what's really cool on here is that it has an actual ignition module, a spark plug wire, a spark plug, and then it has a little crank sensor on here, like real cars. I think it's very, very cool. And even the exhaust, the tune pipe on here is bigger than I thought it would be also. So overall, the engine, the pipe is a lot bigger than I thought, but that seems to make sense for the weight and the size of the vehicle. I mean, look at the size of these tires. They're absolutely huge. Now, it does include a 2-speed transmission, which is nice to have on there. And then, like I said before, it's hard to have another shock in hand. I don't have any sitting around. But the size of these shocks it's unbelievable. And I have big bore shocks on my Vorza, and they look big compared to, let's say, my Traxxas the Summit or the Stampedes, you know, other 10 scale vehicles. And this thing, you know, the Vorza is 8 scale, but this thing, they're huge. The actual bodies on them are actually, they're beyond big bores, it seems. They're really impressive. So hopefully they can handle all the weight. And also the differential cups, and I'll show you close-ups too. Differential cups, front and rear, and the housings on here are all aluminum already. They're anodized red, just like the chassis, and that really impressed me too, because that's one of the biggest reasons I didn't go with the E-Max or the T-Max, was because I didn't want to deal with differential problems. And this one has basically, it's basically the servo itself and the receiver. It's in actual box here, but the servo's waterproof, and so is the receiver because it's in a box. They didn't mention anything about the CCD module, which is the actual ignition controller module, but I imagine since it's out, it's already inside and encased inside of there, the actual module itself. So they claim it is waterproof. Now, the fuel tank right here is a 300cc, which is the same size as the Octane, but the Octane is such a bigger engine because of the weight of the vehicle that there's actually a 20-minute run time in the Octane also. And if you ever heard of Octane, they sound horrible. The HPI Octane sounds horrible, whereas this one sounds more refined. Definitely more refined. So the fuel tanks are the same size, but this one has about a 40 to 45 minute run time, whereas the other one has only 20 minutes. So that's one thing. And the other thing a couple other reviewers were talking about is this is the pressure line from the muffler here to pressurize the tank and get it primed and push fuel out to the carburetor over here. And they were talking about this not being clear, so you couldn't see the fuel, you know, actually pushing through, and you know you're primed. And I was hoping this would come clear like it shows in the box, and like they were talking about changing it out to, so I wouldn't have to change it. But it is indeed, as it says September, a black, non-see-through line on here. But if it primes, what's the big deal on there? And the other thing that was mentioned was this is a pre-filter right here on the air filter, and then there's a regular foam filter underneath it. But this is oil soaked. It's coated. So if you get any light dirt coming through, it's going to pack this pretty quick. So they got outerwears covered for these, and you can put that on there, have like a dry pre-filter on there, and this will start catching the fine stuff with the oil. And right here is where you stick the roto start in there. It's a handheld starter. You jam it in there and hit it, and you can start it up. And this will be all new. We'll be going through this together. Like I said, I've never had any kind of nitro or gasoline vehicles in RCs. Now, obviously, I work on gas vehicles all day long in the shop at the Ford dealership, but that's all EFI and all stuff. Carburetors before my time. And my first car was carbureted, and that's it. So I did a little bit of tuning on the carb on that one, and that was short-lived, let's just say. So carbs in general are new to me also. There's only a high-speed and a low-speed needle on here, and there's a lot of suggested settings in the book and from users out there. But we're going to go through, and we're going to do a nice close-ups of this actual frame on here. You see the bottom side here. It's just an awesome design for the actual chassis on here. It's amazing. So hopefully this right here works out and doesn't, catch chunks of mud and all that stuff. We have enough ground clearance, but I'm sure RPM or something like that's going to have RPM or T-Bone Racing is probably going to have some kind of covers or skid plates for it to actually fully enclose that. I'm sure they'll get right on that. But being plastic, half plastic or nylon, and then having the anodized reinforcements all along here, and the shocks and the arms and all that stuff, it just feels, it's super plush. And it doesn't feel too heavy. According to the box, it's only 18 pounds. So that's about right with all this metal on here and all that. So overall, I'm very impressed with the size of the engine and the placement of the tank and the whole CCD ignition on here. It's very impressive. It's very advanced feeling. This does have that AVC, the automatic vehicle control type deal, where it uses gyros to self-correct for, so you can take off in a straight line. When you're jumping, it helps you. It just kind of helps you drive like an experienced driver. And you can turn it off in case you want to sit there and do burnouts and have full throttle and all that stuff. But I think for the most fun to just get around, it'd be nice to have that to help out. Alright, so a few other things that come in the box is your transmitter. Obviously it's an RTR, so the throttle on here feels way too loose to me. It feels cheap almost. The actual steering on here feels fine, return and all that, but the throttle just seems too loose. There's not much resistance to it. It's kind of just flopping around. We'll see how it works though. It looks nice, and it's a regular Spectrum radio. And they give you oil for your premix, for your 2-cycle. This will treat a quarter gallon each, so a half gallon, to get you started. And I heard this stuff's really expensive, so I'll have to look into that. And of course it gives you your 2S battery, and that's to power all your electronics on here. And then it gives you battery for your remote, some basic tools for the wheels and all that stuff, a bunch of small Allen wrenches, super small ones. And also, of course, your roto zipper thing on here to start it. And you're going to need a 6-cell nickel metal for this. And there's the actual adapter that sticks into there. And one thing to note also is it uses a Tamiya style connector. And now, of course, you can change it. But it's pretty tight in here, so might have to change your connectors over to that. I did not know that, and we're going to have to fix that so I can be able to start so I can even drive it. I got to figure something out now. Got the battery, like I said, and then of course a nice thick manual, and this has some stickers along with it. Decorate your body. couple more of the Dynamite, Spectrum, and Losi stickers on here. Right there. And this supposedly has a lot of good detailed pictures in here showing how to adjust it, break it in. It's very detailed as far as that, so you do it right. So we're going to be going through this whole thing together. And the one thing I got to mention is that with these gasoline engines like this, it's not like an electric. You just throw it in there and you just take off and you go and you try it out. There's a lot of adjustments on these. Even with the gas vehicle compared to the nitros, there's still a lot of adjustments. There's break-ins. They want you to, mix the oil a certain way. You got to do figure eights for a while. You got to keep checking the head temperature on here. So there's a lot more work. But if you're interested in this kind of stuff and I'd like to tune stuff and all that, and instead of just putting batteries in and going, this is definitely the car for you, the truck for you. It's got some troubleshooting in here, stuff like that. So overall, it's a nice thick manual. I'm going to have to really go through it and learn a lot as you go through. And as I learn stuff on here and I find what works best, of course, in my upcoming videos with tuning and braking and all that stuff, I'll be sharing what I found so you can kind of avoid that whole learning curve and you can get the inside information from a person that's been through it before and help you along so you have that knowledge forthgoing. And I mean, it just looks really cool. I can't wait to get it out and running. I mean, just look at it. I mean, it's freaking amazing. So, it's really cool.